All right, this is Jeff Carroll, Sci-fi Express Lane. I'm doing my thing. I'm a writer, comic book creator, filmmaker, author, all that. Let's knock that out and get that out the way. I'm doing this video blog on my Express Lane because I like to express myself, okay? That's the reason why I did it. I express myself on things that people ask me and conversations that we have, and just things that I feel need to be put out there in the world of sci-fi. That said, had a really good conversation with a comedian friend of mine named Pierre. Shout out to the Panic Room. That's what he's doing. He's doing his thing. He's made movies. He's been on Def Comedy Jam. He's stand-up, tremendous, all of that, everything. We were talking about Eddie Murphy's last movie, Axel AF, right? And what we thought about it. I don't even remember if there was a Beverly Hills Cop 3, because it was unmemorable, right? Forgettable, right? And I felt the first Beverly Hills Cop was fine, and the Beverly Hills Cop 2 was also fine, but not as good as the first one. And I felt this one was less good as the second one, but better than Eddie Murphy's Coming to America sequel. And why I felt it was better than the sequel was surely the story. I just felt the story was better. They were both decent stories. I don't think the story failed on either account, at least the premise of it. I think the execution of it could have been better. Maybe we attribute it to low budget. I know these Hollywood guys are used to read-throughs and all of those other things that stories go through. Maybe he had too many chefs in the kitchen. Anyway, it just wasn't as gripping. I mean, to be honest, as much as I like those, I like the Boomerang Eddie. I like the Harlem Nights Eddie. I like the Life Eddie. I think the Eddie that I like is not so, laughy, but I'm never going to do that again. I'll do it in my class, but I don't want to do it on tape. But I think that Eddie is less laughy. And I think the laugh, while it is 48 Hours iconic, has gotten dated. I think it is nostalgic and too nostalgic. I don't think it plays well in this time. Now, why am I talking about Eddie Murphy, who happens to be the actor that I feel is the #1 actor? I have Eddie Murphy over Denzel Washington any day, because I think comedy is a harder art form to do than drama. I just think that's basically because we all have drama in our lives, asking African Americans to be emotional and drama in an environment where they're oppressed and things are already practically dystopian is easy. Having us be happy, silly, funny is harder. So that's my thing. So Eddie Murphy is my #1 actor, Eddie over Denzel. However, I think Eddie has been struggling to find his funny like he has before. This movie wasn't corny, don't get me wrong, and neither really was Coming to America 2. But it wasn't Coming to America. See, his bar was already 12. This was like a 9 or an 8. Even a 7 is low for Eddie. 7 is like trash for Eddie. So, just having an average movie, that's trash for him. So this movie was bank heist. This movie was, no disrespect, almost like one of the Kevin Hart straight-to-video movies, all right? So it's good for another comic, but it's not good for Eddie because he's hit us with classics after classics. So I want him to keep going. Now, why am I talking about this on a Sci-Fi Express Lane? Because this isn't just the Express Lane. This is Sci-Fi Express Lane. I felt the revision that Eddie could have done to take in Beverly Hills Cop 4 or whatever, Axel AF, to the next level would have been if he'd have added something else to it. We were thinking, talking to Pierre, I was saying that, the drug is played. How many times we see cocaine, crack, you know what I'm saying? Bank robberies. Bank robberies are old. The banks don't even have no money anymore. Banks be having $200,000. If they have $1 million in there, that's a jackpot. Maybe in the safe deposit boxes, but even those things are a little bit more compromised, But how much money do a bank have in it? I'm talking about even big banks in New York City. I guarantee they ain't got no $1 million because people don't use currency like that anymore. Banks are actually empty. They're not even with people in it. People don't even go to banks anymore. So for me, I felt that trope of bank robbery, catch a drug dealer, is old. And I felt he could have updated it. Like I suggested, in the movie Dread, would keep I don't know, Carl Urban, I think that's his name, the dude from Boys, right? He's in a Dread movie. And in Dread, he had a new type of drug. If you're gonna make it drugs, you gotta go better than Percocet, you gotta go better than Molly, because those are just different forms of crack and they do pretty much the same thing. You gotta come up with a drug that does something different. If they would have had that in Axel AF, okay, it would have taken it to the next level, because like in Carl Urban's Dread, they had this drug called slow-mo, and slow-mo gave you a chance to almost like slow reality down real slow, so you could see almost like a drop of water fall, and that seemed like it was really something different. And why do I recognize that? Why am I the person to make that type of suggestion, right? Because I can think of drugs for days. I can think of different drugs. I got drugs in my stories that do different things, right? But because I'm a sci-fi writer, and this is what makes it something I want to talk about on the Sci-Fi Express lane. Because as a sci-fi writer, I already know how to project futuristic scenarios, futuristic ideas that maybe contemporary writers who just write regular stories going on right now may not think about. But when you talk about a sci-fi writer, it's not that I'm writing science magazines and science articles. The science fiction that I'm writing is a crime story in the future, is a child reclaiming their parents' story in the post-apocalypse. Two vampires and werewolves in a love triangle, okay? These are same scenarios that's in street lit, that's in other contemporary stories, mysteries, but there's a science fiction element to it. And what is a science fiction element? Maybe it's time travel, right? Maybe it's a new scientific technology like Nutty Professor, right? Okay, because that was science fiction. He was just Nutty Professor was just as much science fiction as Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. All right, it's just that he didn't create a monster that went out and killed people, but he definitely did some stuff to his body. Okay, and now we almost see the same thing with Ozempic, right? It's just he made a faster acting Ozempic, okay, or whatever the other ones are. I don't want to, promote Ozempic, but anyway, that's what a sci-fi writer does. When we talk about what writing science fiction is, you're not making up something totally out of the blue. You're taking something existing, applying a scientific element, a scientific alteration, a scientific update to it, and then you got your story. And that's what makes it a human element to connect with. So yeah, I had written, I'm telling one of my ideas. I don't know if it'll ever get out there. I have other ideas. It's a throw out idea. Anyway, it's disposable. But needless to say, it's real good. I enjoyed The Wire, like pretty much everybody, right? And I felt that, hey, let's do a sequel to it. Let's do something else to it. And I was like, even if it's a one-off, season, if it's a what if season, because that's big. What if is a sci-fi question, so any type of what if applied to it makes it sort of sci-fi. So I was like, what if there was a vampire, because I think I was watching True Blood at the same time. What if there was a vampire that was selling their blood, or dried capsules of their blood, whatever the heck it was, and ground up dried blood or whatever, I don't know, whatever you wanted to do with it. And it did something to people who took it. It didn't make you a vampire, but for the moment you felt something different. That in a Wire story, the exact same cast. Where are we getting this from? It would make it feel like Wire meets Blade. And I think that would be beautiful. I think I was, watching Blade at the time. Again, Blade been around so long that you're watching it all the time anyway, so it can always influence your ideas. But yes, so that's really what a science fiction writer can apply to this. And I'm definitely, when I put this video together, I said I want to use Axel AF as an example, but I don't want to talk about it so much that it's a spoiler, right? Because I spoil, another comedian of mine, Hugh Moore, says that, and another comedian, so Hugh Moore and another comedian named Milton, they actually both said the same thing, that I sometimes spoil stuff. So I don't want to spoil it, but I will say I did want to talk about it, use it as an example, because I think it was good film. It was low level Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy ain't fully back yet till he knocks it out the bus, out the box. But it is good. It's good for any other comedian, film wise. If I made a film as good as Beverly Hills Cop 2, I would be singing praises. I'd be moving out of my house. I'd be flipping over. But for somebody like Eddie Murphy, we've already seen Boomerang. We've already seen Life. He made Jail a good story, a story that we could enjoy, right? Going to jail on illegal, this is a nightmare. Something you didn't do, you go to jail for not a year, but for life. What the heck? It would have been different if they did something and they just got an accelerated sentence, but they didn't even do what they got blamed for. And then Harlem Nights, which is I think is another good one that I think he's working on doing a sequel to anyway. So he could play the Richard Pryor role, and then he'd do another one after that where he played a Red Fox role, because he had generations of black comedy in that movie. So again, science fiction writing forces you to think beyond whatever's going on right now. Not just futurism, but in other directions, beyond whatever the regular thinking is. And I think that writing, for me, has helped me even with my contemporary stories. It has given me a chance to say, hey, what if? Let's expand on that. Dream sequences, whatever. Now I can think like that. And to be honest, if you are a writer who writes a lot of crime fiction, contemporary stories, regular mysteries, might want to try writing some sci-fi. You'd be surprised. So I like sci-fi for that. And that's it. So this is like the power of sci-fi, the benefits of writing sci-fi. Axel AF and the benefits of sci-fi writing. All right, hope this was cool. I hope you kind of understood. I know when Pierre and I was talking, it made sense, but I'm trying to say it all by myself, so maybe it doesn't make sense. But anyway, if you got a comment, like, share, make that comment, all right? Like, share, subscribe, and make that comment. All right, peace. Sci-Fi Express Lane, Jeff Carroll out.